All right, and we're live. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for coming back for episode number 2 of To Be Named podcast here. Really excited to have my good friend Melissa Siviter with us today. Melissa, thanks so much.
Hi, Nick. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on your podcast. This is cool.
Love it. Awesome. Well, before we introduce you, get started, it's becoming tradition now. This is the second episode. I want to play a little game with you. And I think that's a good way to introduce kind of your background and what you do.
Okay.
So shared my screen. Let me make it a little bigger here. So we got to guess the golfer based on their eyes. All right. Well, you do. So, all right, here's the first one.
Okay, that's Tiger Woods.
Yeah. Gotta be. Easy layup.
Easy start. Oh, Lee Westwood.
Ooh, that's a good one. Love it.
Oh, that's Bubba Watson. Yeah.
With the little flare.
Oh, yeah, I could tell by the hair.
Yes.
Oh, that's Brandt Snedeker. Yeah. I could tell by the bill. Yeah.
They need to just show the hats here and we could probably get them.
Yep.
All right, 2 more.
Ooh, that little beard. That's Adam Scott. Yeah, I know that one.
Just a little beard.
Yeah, little beard. Yeah. Oh, Ricky Fowler, back in the day, for sure.
Classic. I don't even know if that's back in the day. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's still sporting the goatee, but that hair for sure is back in the day. Yeah.
Love it. Awesome. Well, Melissa, really appreciate you joining us here. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay, yeah. So my name is Melissa Siviter. I have been playing professional golf now for the last, 6 years, I believe it is. It's gone by so fast. I'm originally from the UK. I came over and played college golf at Belmont Abbey and then transferred to Georgia State. Had a great experience there. And then, I have the golf bug that a lot of people know about. And I just wanted to pursue it as a career. So that's what I'm doing right now. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And I think you teed me up really nicely here. Want to get into, how you got into golf, talk about the college golf experience, especially coming from the UK, not much of a college sports scene there. So I know a lot of folks get recruited to come over to play in the States. And then we're going to spend a lot of time talking about what it's actually like to be a professional golfer, the highs, the lows, what it really means here. So I think first, I'd love to know, how'd you get into golf? What's the origin story here?
Okay, so the origin story, both my parents played golf. My brother and I pretty much lived at the golf course every weekend. Growing up, my dad would play in the morning. We'd be with my mom. And then my mom would play in the afternoon and we'd be with my dad. And we'd just always be there practicing, playing as a family. I don't think they ever thought anything of it, that I would love it as much as I did. They never really pushed the game on me, which was kind of cool. They just let me figure it out on my own. And, I had coaches growing up and they taught me the basics. And then, I just, like I said earlier, I got the bug and I just loved it. So that's kind of the origin, which has been kind of cool. My parents are still weekend warriors now. They love it too. So, but that's how it started. And then I don't know if you want to go on to like how I got into college and how all that started. But
we'll get there. I think right now, kind of growing up as a kid, playing golf, were you good at golf growing up, or when did you maybe hit your stride?
I don't think I really took it that seriously until I turned like 13 or 14. And then I started playing in like back home in England, there's like the English amateur and like the British amateur, stuff like that. Really big tournaments that honestly I had no idea like what I was doing. I just turned up and tried my best, I didn't realize. And then I figured out like, I'm actually pretty good at this, so that spurred me on to practice a little bit more and try and get better. I wouldn't say that I was like a natural at the game. I've definitely worked very hard to get where I am today. And that's kind of how it all started. And then I played a lot of county golf growing up, which is kind of cool in the UK. You don't really have that here. I'd say it was like playing in state tournaments, very similar.
Okay.
But in England, we play more match play, like tournaments, which is awesome.
Can you
Um,
explain what match play is
yeah,
versus regular golf?
yeah. So match play, you're playing the person as opposed to
Mm,
like the golf course. I mean, you'd want to say you're still playing the golf course as best as you can and that, but for instance, on the first hole, say I make a par and my opponent makes bogey, I'm one up, if that makes sense. Yeah. So
sure.
that's how
So
it's
every
scored.
hole you're competing
Yeah.
who wins that hole.
Yeah. You go one up, two up, exactly. And then, yeah, they can be really good matches. They can go to the 18th hole if it's a tight match, or you can close them out after, 10, 11 holes if you win every hole, right? So it's kind of cool. It's definitely a different game plan than stroke play because, you might see your opponent's kind of out of the hole. So, not to be as aggressive, maybe,
Mhm.
in strategy, stuff like that. So it's kind of cool. You can definitely be more aggressive in that kind of format of golf. Yeah.
That's awesome. So that was a lot of the county golf back
Yeah.
home tournaments.
Yeah. And we also play like team events. So county team, you'd play single matches, and then it's kind of like the Ryder Cup. So you'd play like foursomes in the morning and then singles in the afternoon, that kind of stuff, which is fun because we don't do that a whole lot in pro golf now, unless you're in the Solheim Cup or the Ryder Cup, right? So that was kind of fun to do that growing up.
That's awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And played all through high school on the school team. What did
Yeah.
that look like for you?
Yeah. So, like you were saying earlier, like college and high school sports, it's not the same in the UK. We don't really have that.
Mm,
So, yeah, I didn't play. There wasn't a high school team growing up. I would just play at the county level, like I said. Yeah. So those matches would be on the weekend, or, if it was a big match, it might go from like Friday to Monday or something. I'd get to take a day off school, which I also love that too. So, yeah.
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 Encourage you to play more
Oh,
golf.
yeah, definitely. My mom definitely wrote a lot of notes into school to say, maybe I was sick that day, but really I was playing golf. So that was cool.
Yeah. No, that
Yeah.
sounds like a lot of my coworkers, a lot of
Yeah.
sick days.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I love that. All right. So you're playing well in high school.
Yeah.
How do you get in contact here in the States to play golf? What does that process like really look like?
Yeah. Okay. So I really heard about it. A few of my peers, like older girls, had gone over to America and played in college, and they kind of told me about it. But from the UK, they have like agencies you can go through. And I remember it was one county event. I think they had a guy come in and he explained kind of the opportunities that were there to play in college and, play on a golf scholarship and kind of basically get your education paid for, right? So I was like, wow, this sounds amazing. And like my friends had told me, like, you have to do it,
Yeah.
and my parents have always told me, like, go, at least go try it. If you don't like it, you can always come home, right? Like,
Mhm.
at least give it a go. So yeah, we just we went through an agency. He kind of put a resume of mine together. We did like a little video, like a piece to camera, and then had me playing shots. And I guess he had a lot of contacts with college coaches in the US. So he sent it out. And then we got a bunch of emails back, and we're trying to like figure that out. We have no idea about college
Yeah.
sports in England. I was just like so blown away by everything. I didn't know the difference between a D1 school and a D2 school. I just thought D1 was bigger, maybe. Like, I had no idea. So, yeah, we go through this agency. We get a couple of coaches come in touch with us, and it's really cool. Like, all these coaches are reaching out, wanting you to come visit, and bigging up their school. Obviously, they're trying to recruit you to come. So we spoke to a couple, and then we went on some visits, which was very interesting.
Yeah.
I'll
Tell
never
me some
forget.
stories. Where'd you visit?
Yeah. So the first, the first visit we went to was in the middle of nowhere, Kansas. Like, I'm coming from like a very industrial town in the UK, and we go to Kansas, and there's like nothing, tumbleweed, just like for miles. And I'm like, okay. So we go to this small like D2 school. I can't remember the name of it, but we looked around and the coach was like super enthusiastic, really nice guy, like wanted me to go there. Obviously, I'd had a pretty good resume, like for that school to go there. I'd be like one of the best players. So, you know, he was really pushing on the school and he was super nice. But I just didn't think Kansas was really for me. So there was another school we went to, which ended up being the school I went to, Belmont Abbey College in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we get there, I want to say it's like February, March time. We went on a trip and it snowed that day. We got to Belmont Abbey. Like it was a blizzard. And like the coach is so like, oh my gosh, she's not going to want to come here. Like, you know, we're promoting, yeah, you can practice all year round and you can do all this stuff. And then, yeah, we get there and there's a full on blizzard. Can't see the golf course, can't hit balls.
This is like 2007, 2008?
Yeah. So it would have been, I believe it would have been 2009 because I went 2009 in the fall. So I think, yeah, it was a couple of months before we actually committed and everything. It was kind of last minute. But yeah, so I just gelled really well with the girls on the team. They were awesome. There was another girl from England there, a couple of other international girls. They were super welcoming. And I was like, yeah, I can really see myself here. Right. But like I said, I had no idea about college sports. So I didn't know the difference between D1, D2, what the kind of standard of golf would be. So that was interesting. So I can tell you about like going there for the first time and,
Please.
you know, yeah. So like I said, I got there in August of 2009. It's a very small school. I think maybe 2,000 students, right? Pretty small. Yeah, the whole thing was just different. So my parents, we get there and I'm in a dorm. I'm sharing a room with a girl I've never met before, right? Sharing a room, sharing a bathroom with like 8 other girls. And like my mom gets there and she's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like we're going to leave you here. You know, like it was concrete walls painted, you know, very small bed. There was like no privacy whatsoever. And I was like, no, I think I'm going to be fine. It's going to be great. You know, like it's going to be fine. But yeah, we do the whole like Walmart haul of getting all the bed linen and everything I need. And yeah, then my parents waved me off. And as you can imagine, there was quite a few tears for the first few days. I'm like, what have I done? Like, this is crazy. But yeah, we lived on Skype. And I mean, we still live on FaceTime to this day because I'm not with them right now. So, but yeah, it was definitely an adjustment, you know, like in college, they say, you know, freshman 15 you gain. I think I lost about 20 pounds. Like I wasn't eating the food. I was like, why do Americans put cheese on everything? Like, no, like vegetables are supposed to be healthy. Don't make them unhealthy. So yeah, like calf food was not for me. I didn't really eat a whole lot. Like the first Christmas I went home, my parents were like, oh my gosh, are you eating? Are you okay? Like what's happening? And I've always had a good appetite. So, but then, you know, I think I gained back the sophomore 20 for sure. Like found my stride, felt better about the food and, you know, fit in a lot better. So that was just, yeah, it was an amazing experience there. Yeah, the girls were great. And yeah, I had no expectations. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying to play golf and figure that out. And I actually ended up playing really well, like my freshman year. So, you know, it gave me a lot of confidence to know that I could compete at that level.
That's awesome. Yeah. And that's like critical early on is getting those early wins and
yeah, I
good
think
about
so,
the game.
definitely. You know, like just out the gate, you know, I was posting good scores and I was fitting well in the team. You know, I was probably like 3rd or 4th on the team, but I knew I could be better. And then towards the end of the year, that freshman year, I started playing really well. So yeah, I really found my stride there at Belmont Abbey, but I had no idea what was to come after that. So yeah.
That's great. And so you did 2 years at Belmont Abbey?
Yeah. So
and can you talk about kind of how you made the switch over to Greek State?
So yeah, I did 2 years at Belmont Abbey. I my resume, I'm trying to think. I know I won my first event as a freshman, and I won conference twice, like freshman, sophomore year. I was playing really well, and the coach that recruited me was leaving.
Mm.
And it just didn't seem like the program was going down the route that I wanted it to. Like, we had a couple of seniors leaving, and I just couldn't see, the team working out the way that I wanted to. So, being in the US for 2 years, I started to figure out more about college golf, and, realizing, maybe a D1 school would have been a little better fit. It's probably going to push me to be a better player. There's going to be a lot stronger competition for sure. So yeah, like I want to say it was the Christmas of like 2011, I started looking into other schools to try and transfer. But unfortunately, the school didn't release me from the program, which happens occasionally, like when you transfer, but it's usually only if you transfer in the same conference or,
Right.
like maybe in the same division. But I was trying to transfer to Division I. So it was kind of, I don't know. I felt like it was like they wanted me to stay there. So it was kind of like, we're not going to release you. So, if you don't stay with us, you're going to have to sit out for a year. But, I was like, no, I'm going. This isn't for me,
Yeah.
So we looked at some really cool schools in like the North Carolina area. I went to one visit at Wake Forest, which that would have been a dream school. Like, their golf program is incredible. But yeah, it was a little pricey.
Yeah.
So yeah. And at the time, like, we met with the coach, we went on a tour, and like, she's showing me the practice area that's on campus. And like, for a golfer, it's just like heaven, right? I can walk from class to the practice area any day. Like, wow, that's incredible. Yeah. And there's obviously been a lot of famous golfers go there, and a lot of history from the program. So yeah, I really liked it, but the coach was really nice, but it just wasn't going to be right. They didn't have any scholarships for me to go there at that time. But she was great, and she put me in touch with a really good friend of hers, which is Kathy Mann, who was the head coach at Georgia State. And I just sent her an email and told her, like, what I was trying to do and trying to start, as soon as possible once I was released from, my old school. And yeah, I went on a visit to Georgia State, and yeah, the rest is history. So yeah, that's how I got there.
No, that's great. At what point were you starting to think about, like, hey, maybe I could make a career out of this? Maybe I want to try to go pro. Was that freshman year you win that first tournament? And you're like, I'm out. I'm going pro.
I think, I was like a bit of a deer in headlights when I won. I didn't realize that I was actually that good until I won out, and like, everyone was going nuts about it. I'm like, yeah, I guess that is really cool. Like, I just won a college tournament. But I think it was tough, like the first semester, especially at Georgia State, like not being able to play and see like the girls go off to all the tournaments, and I'm just sitting back. And it was tough to do that, but it definitely made me want to get my game ready for when I could play. And
is that
then
because you had to sit out a year with
yeah,
the transfer?
so it was just, so I took a year. I actually went home, and then I came back in the January of 2012. Yeah. So that was the one semester I sat out, and then I practiced and got ready. And yeah, I think the first semester back was definitely playing competitive golf is totally different than practicing and trying to qualify, right? It's like there's a lot more pressure. So I found it pretty difficult, but I think I'd say winning like my senior year kind of sealed the deal. Like, I knew I could compete against these girls, and I was a good player, so I'd shoot good enough scores to win. I felt like I could give it a go for sure.
That's awesome. I love how kind of it builds on itself, that confidence to kind of go chase the dream.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that year, 2013, the summer, I played really well too. Like, I qualified for the US Amateur, which is like the biggest amateur tournament there is in golf. Yeah. So doing that too really gave me a confidence boost to go win the following year for sure. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So Georgia State, graduate.
Yeah.
What happens next? There's no job application. There's no. No one picks you up. You have to go. You got to go be pro.
Definitely. And especially obviously not being a citizen, there's a lot of other stuff that's involved in that too. So Yeah, so after graduation, I won't bore you with all the facts, but I had to get this type of visa to work for a year, like
Hmm.
in the field of study. So luckily, I did like a minor in hospitality, so I could kind of wiggle my way in the golf industry there. So I worked at a golf club up, where my fiance Mikey lives, and they were really great. I was doing outside services like cleaning golf carts, like getting golf bags, stuff like that. But they let me use the practice facility, and I'm like, that's a good exchange. Like I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. So yeah, so I practiced there for a year. I didn't turn pro until I went to Q school for the first time, which is
Okay.
qualifying school for the LPGA. So
Can
that
you
was,
explain how all that works?
yeah,
You don't just
absolutely.
join the
Yeah,
LPGA.
there's no
It's a
like
whole thing.
a whole thing that's extremely stressful, as any professional golfer will let you know. There's a lot of Q school stories out there. But yeah, I think sometimes ignorance is bliss, and the same thing happened my first time at Q school. I had no idea like how big of a thing this was, so I went in with no expectations, played pretty well. I didn't make it through to second stage, but I got enough status to get me into some Symetra events, which is now the Epsom Tour,
Hmm.
um, for the following year. So I'll give you a little backstory of Q School.
Yep.
It's changed over the years that I've been doing it, but technically there's like three stages. There's like the first stage. There's more girls than there ever used to be when I first started going there. I think when I first started, there was maybe, I don't know, 250 girls from all over the world, right? And the first year, I think they had, I think it was 100 girls got through to the next stage. So I just
Is
missed
that based
out.
on your score from the
Yeah,
first
over
few
four
days?
rounds. Yeah,
Yeah.
4 rounds. Um, and then, yeah, over 2 courses. That was the first year. And then you go to second stage. And then it's the same kind of process. Like girls that haven't kept their status from the Symetra Tour have to go requalify, plus the
Mhm.
girls that came from first stage, same kind of thing. 200 odd girls, top 70 go to, it's called Q Series now. And it's like a marathon now. It's like 8 rounds of golf. Like, and I think honestly I should know better, but like of the numbers would say like the top 30 might get some, status on the LPGA, but everyone else will get some status on the Epsom Tour, which is like the one step down from the LPGA.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's a lot. It's very stressful because I mean that dictates like your whole next year of what you're going to be playing on, what tournaments you're going to be able to get in based on how you finish in Q school. Yeah.
Right. I'm almost trying to think of an analogy here because there aren't many sports that I feel like are like this. I'm
Yeah.
almost thinking of like, like Premier League soccer.
Yeah.
So the team, you have the Premier League,
Yeah.
and then you have kind of the secondary leagues, and you kind
Yeah.
of play your way through that to actually make it to that top league. And that's
Yeah.
kind of, I think, almost akin to golf.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, I don't think there's any other sports that's kind of like this, that like there's that many people trying to qualify for the same thing, like the same tour, right? And it's just you against the golf course, and the best course get through. But yeah, it's tough. And I mean, the hard thing is in golf, it's like, some sports you sign a contract with an amazing team or whatever out of college, and then you have that contract for X amount of years. You're going to get paid no matter what. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
even if you don't play that well, you're still. But golf, if you don't play well, you're not going to get paid, and you're going to have to requalify that next year or that year that you don't play well. So it's nothing quite like it, playing to keep your card on the LPGA tour. It's pretty tough. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think so. If we kind of look at as a tour golfer or working through that process, how do you decide what tournaments to play?
Yeah.
What are the costs? Because you actually have to pay to play these tournaments. You don't
Yeah.
can't they're not for free. It's a
No.
business. They make their money off golfers trying to play and win.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So obviously, I think, it comes down first to if you've got sponsorship of what you can play in. Because if you don't have the
Mm,
money to enter the tournaments, you can't play, right? So there's that whole aspect. I mean, there's also mini tours that I've played on. And, you know, the entry fee ranges from, I'd say, like $400 to $600 to play in a tournament.
Okay.
And then that money goes towards paying for the course. Like, obviously the tour has to pay the course for the three rounds that we're going to play. And then the rest of that money goes into the pot for the week, I guess, to, you know, the prize money, and then maybe a little bit for the people that own the tour or run the tour, right? So there's that whole aspect. But yeah, I think it really comes down to how much money you've got, and you really have to work hard to get sponsorship. It's kind of hard to like go to a company and say, hey, this is what I want to do. I'm probably not going to make that much money doing it, but hey, if you want to come along for the ride and be a part of my journey, like, let's go for it. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard. It's a little easier now with social media, because obviously you can get their brand exposure out there if you're pretty, you know, popular on social media and stuff like that. It's a little easier. But honestly, I think when you're first starting out, unless you're like a huge name, you know, like a top 10 amateur in the world or something, you're going to find it's going to be tough to find sponsorship. You know, it might come from friends and family to start with, and then just people you meet along the way. You know, that's the great thing in golf. You meet some really cool people, and people that love the game and just want to be a part of your journey, which is awesome. I mean, I've met a lot of people like that, and they're the ones that, you know, allow me to keep playing, because if it wasn't for their help, then I wouldn't be able to play in tournaments. So
Right. Yeah.
cool.
No, it's a very tight knit group.
Oh yeah.
Everyone just wants to play as good as you. So how can
Yeah.
we help someone kind of
Right.
achieve that? And so I'll just take a step back here.
Yeah.
And so from a golf career standpoint, the goal essentially want to make it to the LPGA. That's kind of
Yeah.
the top tier. To get there, you're either playing mini tours. So these are little tournaments kind of around the nation.
Yeah.
And the goal for that is to play and win some money, get some
Right.
wins under your belt, like
Yeah.
build your resume as a professional golfer.
Yeah.
As you do that, you could then take that to sponsorships and say, hey, I'm doing
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Brand me up. I'll get
Yeah.
you exposure.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's all right, let's go tackle Q school, so qualifying
Right.
school. And that's going to be a marathon of golf, just the gauntlet of cutthroat.
Yeah.
Only half the people make it every round. And as you kind of progress through that, if you go all the way through, you have your tour card, which means you can play kind of the top tier golf.
Yeah.
And then if you make it maybe the round before that, there's maybe I think it was the semester tour.
Yeah. Well, it's called the Epsom Tour now. So the tour changes names, excuse me, are based on sponsorship. So Epsom is the main sponsor right now.
Got it. And so that's a place where players can play, have regular kind of tournaments and you know, win some money and kind of make a career out of it. And is that kind of maybe the 3 tiers to professional golf?
Yeah, exactly. You've got, you know, kind of like baseball, I guess, like the minor leagues.
Yep.
And then you've got the major league, like the LPGA and Epsom Tour. And the Epsom Tour now, it's great. You have, if you play well, I think it's the top 10 girls get a card to the LPGA Tour, so they don't have to go through Q school.
Oh, that's great.
So that's a great way of getting through. So yeah, I mean, like my coach always tells me, just play better, and then and then you'll get sponsorship. You get on the LPGA Tour. It's simple as that, right? So yeah, that's basically how it works. But I don't think people really realize how hard it is of a grind. You know, like we're all out there trying to get on the LPGA Tour, and I mean, there's like thousands of girls trying to do it.
Yeah.
And I always thought out of college, excuse me, that there was just like, I've got a really dry throat. Sorry, Nick.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah.
And I know, I mean, you're playing tournaments all over Florida, during the winter
Yeah.
you're down there, traveling a lot to play tournaments.
Oh yeah,
And
I play.
you've won a tournament as well, kind of at the high
Yes,
level.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was last year. That was really cool. I mean, like you said, as any athlete, goes through lots of ups and downs and, questions your career. Like, is this really for me? It's super hard. Like, and then I mean, that year I was like pretty close, with COVID and stuff. It like made us
Mhm.
slow down and really kind of put things into perspective of like what we wanted to do. And
Yeah.
maybe just think about priorities of like what we want in life. I think that was a great aspect that came out of COVID, what really meant something to us. And, I thought like, do I really want to keep doing this? Like I love golf. I love trying to get better every day. That's what I love the most about it. But I'm not so keen on like sleeping in different beds every week and, traveling, in my car for 10 hours to go to the middle of nowhere. Like that stuff was kind of running a little thin. Like, cause I'm not sure if I want to do this anymore. But yeah, I was feeling that way. And then I go win a tournament like the next week. And I'm like, are you serious? Golf gods? Like, come
Yeah.
on.
Stringing you
Yeah.
along.
So you never really know when it's your time. And I think that's what keeps me going because, golf is just one of those games. Like you get on a heater and you just go with it. Right. And you just keep playing with that momentum. And yeah, it's just great. You never know where that's going to take you. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome. I can't say I've ever been on a heater in golf.
Yeah.
Maybe like two good swings in a row,
Oh
but
yeah. It's yeah, it's all perspective,
yeah.
at what
Well,
level
I
we're
want
at.
to talk a little bit about kind of tournament prep, like
Okay.
what goes into
Yeah.
that, um, to kind of share with the audience, like when do you arrive? Like, are you walking the course? You're
Yeah.
there in sharing someone's house who's putting you up. Like,
Yeah.
what's the mindset going into a tournament?
Yeah. Okay. So I guess the last few years I've really just done like mini tour stuff. Also I'll give you like the lowdown on that. Obviously we have pretty small budget, so we're not going to be there
Mhm.
a long time. So I've been very fortunate to meet some great host families along the way, which has definitely helped the bank balance.
Mhm.
So what I mean by that is like wherever the golf course is being hosted at, like the host club, they'll ask their members if, we've got this tournament coming through, is there anyone that would be willing to host one of the players? And you would be amazed. Like these people open their doors, like treat you like family. They're amazing people. Like when I told my parents, like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna go stay in this stranger's house for like a tournament. They're like, are you okay? Like, is that gonna be fine? I'm like, I mean, if they're kind enough to open their door to you, they're probably gonna be nice people. And sure enough, I haven't had any duds. So
Yeah.
host families have been definitely the way to go. So say for instance, down in Florida, I would go down maybe 2 days before the tournament. I drive to most of the events. So that's like a 6.5, 7 hour drive
Mhm.
to Orlando, which is mainly where the mini tours are. So I'd get in, kind of have a rest day, maybe practice a little bit. Then the day before the tournament, I would usually play around at the course. After you've played like a few years professional golf, you've usually played the golf course before. So,
Yeah.
we take notes, we have a yardage book and kind of strategize how we want to play the hole. Don't want to go, right? Like,
Mhm.
you want to, where's the best place to miss and stuff like that. And kind of just figure out how the greens are rolling, things like that. And then the tournaments, it depends what tour you're playing on, but they're usually 3 rounds. So get your practice round in, maybe do a little practice after, do most of it like on the putting green, chipping green, just kind of get that all down because that's kind of where it's won and lost in this game. So
Yeah.
do that and then, get a good night rest. And then, yeah, the next day off for tournament golf. And yeah, you do 3 rounds and the end of the day, whoever shoots the lowest score wins the biggest check, right? So that's kind of how it goes. But yeah, that's the strategy on those mini tours. When I played few years ago on Symetra, a few tournaments, they're a little different. They're longer tournaments. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like you take the week, you would get there on maybe a Monday night, Tuesday, maybe do 1 or 2 practice rounds if you haven't seen the course before. But it's definitely important. Like, I found my first year out there, like, I was practicing so much right before the tournament came, and then I was exhausted by the first round, right? So it's really important to like schedule, like, okay, how much time am I going to spend here? You know, am I just going to play 9 holes today and practice? Like, I think that's really important. And you obviously find that out, like, as you play more, you can figure out what works best for you. You know, like when I got out on this match tour, I was like a deer in headlights, and like, wow, everyone's got their coaches and trackmans and all these gadgets on the putting green. I was like, whoa, should I be doing that? Like,
Yeah.
you know, I kind of got lost in all that. And I think the best thing is just, you got to figure out what's right for you. Everyone's different, you know. Some things like all that technology works for some, it doesn't work for others. You know, you just got to figure out what's right for you and how much practice you want to do. But yeah, those tournaments it depends on the tournament, but 3 to 4 days. So they're a little longer. So definitely, you know, maintaining good energy throughout the week is definitely important. Getting good rest.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's like an average check size? You're not making your year winning a tournament.
Average check size if you're winning a tournament.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So like on mini tours, it just depends on the field size, right? If you've got a pretty good field size of, I don't know, 70 to 100 players, it might be 10,000 first place. If it's a little smaller, 5,000, and then, you know, 2,000-3,000 first place. And then the Epsom tour, they've definitely, since I started playing professional golf, the tours have done really good, or like a really good job of like increasing the purses for female professional golf, which is awesome to see where that's trending. So I want to say now, like on the Epsom tour, maybe like 25,000 kind of first place check. Yeah. And there's, so it's getting better. Could still have some work, but yeah, it's getting there.
How does that compare with men's golf? Is there a big difference there? Yeah.
Come on. Yeah. Yeah. You know the answer to that. Of course it is. Yeah. No, it's definitely different out there. I mean, sometimes like on the PGA tour, it's like, it's totally different. But I mean, I understand it's about like sponsorship and, you know, viewers watching, tickets sold. It's like a business, right? So obviously they're attracting more sponsors to their tournaments. So obviously the checks are going to be a little bigger. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Curious, which do you watch more of, PGA or LPGA golf?
Yeah, thanks for that, Nick. I don't want to lie on this podcast, but yeah, I do tend to watch more PGA golf. I think honestly, mainly because of the time frame that it's on the TV, right?
Okay.
So like on an evening, you sit down maybe on like, you know, a Thursday evening, the men's golf is on prime time, right? So I'm going to be watching that. Whereas like, you know, most of the women's golf is like on the West Coast. It depends actually. The West Coast swing I watch more of because it is on later. So, you know, on an evening I'll watch it. But like when the golf's on here on the LPGA, it might be, I don't know, coverage 12 to 3. Well, I'm out there practicing, so I'm not going to be watching it, right?
Right.
So that's another thing, like why people tend to watch more PGA golf. It's because the coverage time is a little different. Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, quick question, and then I want to talk about Augusta National.
Okay.
But before that, have you made a hole-in-one?
I have. I've made 2.
Tell me all about it.
Okay. So the first one was my first year as a professional. I want to say. Yes, it was. First one, it was at Eagle Dunes, I want to say, in Orlando, Florida. It was the 17th hole. This is a long time ago, Nick, so hang on a minute. I want to say it was like 180 yards. Back then I was carrying a 4-iron. I don't know why. Hybrids are the way to go. But I hit a 4-iron, and it was one of those holes like you couldn't really see the bottom of the flag or like the green, but it was a pretty good shot. I mean, you know, it was drawing in there nicely, and you know, I didn't see it go in. So like my group were walking up there. I'm like, gosh, that's weird. There's like, one girl in the bunker, another one like on the green. I'm like, where's my ball? Like I'm looking like through the green, like, oh, of course it went through or something. Can't find it. And the girl was just, one of the girls in my group was like, why don't you just, could it be in the hole? I go over there, I'm like, you're kidding me. Like, this is ridiculous. I was like freaking out. First ever hole in one in a pro tournament too, which was kind of cool. And then I proceeded to like make a 7 on the next hole. I was like that excited.
It's only
like,
right.
Oh yeah, I'm like, I'm glad I only had one hole left. Otherwise, who knows what I could have shot that day. But yeah, that was my first one. Yeah, and it doesn't really count. It was kind of in practice. I've had one more, but like it wasn't.
I count it. I count it.
Yeah, thank you. So I've had 2.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So you've had I think a rare opportunity to play Augusta National.
Very rare. Yeah.
And can you talk about, how that came about? Is it as amazing as, it looks? And any like secrets you can share about your time there?
I don't know. I don't know if I can tell you the secrets. I might have to kill you. But yeah. So I mean, yeah. How do we start with this story? I mean, yeah, I still can't believe it's happened, first of all. Like, when you say that to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, that has actually happened. I've been there. But when I first moved to Georgia, like my dad thought going to the Masters was like a thing everyone could do, right? So ever since I went to Georgia State, my dad's like, can you get me Masters tickets? Like, you're going to get me Masters tickets this year, right? And I'm like, Dad, it doesn't really work like that. Like, you need to know the right kind of people. And then even so, like, it might cost, a few thousand, depending on where you're getting them from. So, yeah, anyway, I managed to get him there. I think it was 2017, like made his whole life. Like my mom and dad got to go there, got to walk all the halls. Anyway, so yeah, obviously I've been very fortunate to meet a lot of really cool people in the Atlanta area mainly through my coach, John Tattersall, who I've been working with since I graduated. So thanks, John, for that. But yeah, one of his clients that he gives lessons to is a member there. So, I mean, I've met him, great guy. I've played golf with him a few times. Really cool. I've got to play a number of really good courses in Atlanta through him. And, I always knew he was a member there, but, you just never think you're going to get that call, right? That, hey, we got you a tee time at Augusta, right? So it was January of 2021. I get a call, like my coach, he doesn't call me that much at night. So he like called me at like 9 o'clock. I'm like, oh gosh, what does John want? Like what's going on? And I get the call and he's like, so do you want to play golf east of the city? And I'm like, what, like East Lake? Like what are you talking about? He's like, how about further east? I'm like, stop. Like, you're kidding me. Are you serious? Like, are you serious? Like, no. And he's like, yeah, you want to play Augusta National? I'm like, of course. Like, when do I need to be there? Like, what time? Whatever. Yeah. I'm there. So I want to say it was like 2 days before or something. There wasn't like much notice, but I wouldn't have cared if it was the next day. I wouldn't have slept. Well, I didn't sleep the night before. Like, I'm going to bed the night before we go there and I'm just like dreaming of all the holes, like I've grown up watching the Masters. So I'm like, yeah, this hole and then this shot on this hole. Yeah. So yeah, it's like Augusta's like a 2-hour drive from Atlanta, depending on who's driving. John might have got there a little quicker. But yeah, we wait for the member to come and yeah, we go through the gates down Magnolia Lane and it's like a totally pinch me moment. Like I'm on my phone, like videoing and stuff down there. And you're not really supposed to have like phones and take pictures, it's kind of just like an unwritten rule that, like not to have your phone out kind of. Well, that year, because of COVID, they wanted you all to do COVID tests before you play. So that's like, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, if I test positive and I can't play Augusta National, it's just like the worst letdown ever. So I think that's the most nervous I've ever been, waiting for like 30 minutes to get my COVID test back. And, it's Augusta National. So it's not like any other kind of COVID testing place. Like it's a special building that's made just for like testing. And they have all these doctors there testing. And we sit there, we're like, we have our test, we sit down for, like I said, like 30 minutes. And I'm like, come on, I haven't been traveling. There's no way I could have COVID right now. Like, and I'd heard stories like people had flown in to play there and like one guy in the group had tested positive. So they couldn't play. Like they had to fly home. I'm like, you're kidding. So anyway, I obviously played. So I tested negative. And then, we could relax and just like take it all in.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I mean, I was so fortunate. I mean, we got to get a whole tour of the clubhouse, see like this, the wine cellar down there, just amazing. So yeah, we got there and then we warmed up. I was so nervous on the practice area. I mean, this grass is so pristine. Like I didn't even want to take a divot. I'm like, usually I want to take a divot goals, like is my thing. No, I was like, oh my gosh. And then, all your caddies come in their white jumpsuits and they introduce stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like nerve wracking. It's so beautiful. Like I can't explain it. So then we got to go play short, they call it the short course. So like the par 3. So we got to play that. It was pretty cool. I made some birdies out there. But yeah, I obviously got a taste of how quick the greens were and everything. And then, it was a very leisurely day. We went and had lunch out and it was beautiful. It was like January and it was 60 degrees out. It was so perfect.
Oh, amazing.
But yeah, so we got to sit outside and have lunch. And I don't know, I would say maybe the secrets are like how amazing the food is there. Like you could have anything you wanted pretty much. But like I went on the members like recommendation and then after the lunch, they brought out these cookies, which were like the best cookies I've ever had. So we do that. And then, we tee it up on the big course. And honestly, the first like 5 holes were a blur. Like I didn't know what was going on. I'm just trying to take it all in. I'm like, not many people get this experience. Like be present, just get it all in there. And my caddy was great, kind of gave me great reads on the green and like where to hit it. So that was really cool. But yeah, the front 9, I didn't play great on, but like, I mean, I didn't care. I was like, I'm at Augusta National. Like I'm going to enjoy this, whether I play well or not. And then the back 9, like I also wanted to take pictures. Like I said, I didn't know like the rules really about that. But then when we started on the back 9, obviously the back 9 at Augusta National is like, it's beautiful. Like that's when like the tournaments are won and lost. So I know those holes a lot more, the famous holes. So then I like kind of got my phone out and it was okay. We took photos down there on 11 across the bridge on 12 and, the caddy knew where to take the best pictures and oh my gosh, it was amazing. Like, I'm trying to think. My claim to fame, I guess, is like I birdied the par 5 13, birdied 15, parred 16, 17, 18 coming in. And they're pretty hard finishing holes. So that was kind of a cool way to like end the round. And like I said, the weather was so perfect. Like I have this picture on 17 and the wind was blowing the flag and like the sun was setting. It was like perfect lighting. And I have it. It's my screensaver on my phone. Like none of my loved ones. Picture of Augusta National. It's definitely there. Yeah.
I love how you talk about golf. It's very romantic. There's very much a relationship with the sport.
Definitely. I think anyone that plays golf and loves it as much as me is a golf nut. Like, there's definitely that feeling of love about it. But you also hate it at sometimes too. It's definitely a love-hate relationship. But yeah, that was great. And then I definitely won in the pro shop of spending the most money possible out of the group. Of course, like when you're at Augusta National, you get a lot of friends come out the woodwork like, hey, can you get me this? Can you get me a hat? And I'm like, okay, yeah. So that was really cool. I still regret not getting the head cover from there. So maybe another time I'll be able to go again. But yeah. I was just lost in the retail of it all. And I was like, oh, I should have got one. But Still got some cool
Well,
stuff though.
no, that's amazing.
Yeah.
What an opportunity that is.
Of a lifetime. Yeah.
I,
Not many
I
people
posted
can
on
say
Instagram and someone asked, ask her what her favorite golf course is
that.
that she's played. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get a different answer, but maybe
No.
number two.
Yeah. Number two. Well, yeah, that's tough. I mean, I've played a lot of great courses in England too and Scotland.
Oh, yeah.
So another cool experience was playing the old course at St Andrews. It was right after they had the Open there, and I was in college. I want to say it was maybe 2010 or 11. Golf nuts don't get mad at me for not knowing when the Open was there at St Andrews. I do know it's there this year though. So that was really cool because all the grandstands were still up and all the signage was there. And just standing on that first tee and like the history that's there is just incredible. Like it's so cool. And we were there in the summer, so we teed it up at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's still light there, and 10 o'clock. So we're finishing up and the sun's setting, and it was really cool experience. But I mean, you can't top Augusta National, really. In my opinion. Yeah.
And you played them, so
I know. How cool is that? Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, let's start to wrap up here. I want to know about your future plans,
Okay.
kind of with golf and kind of where you see that, because I know you're doing some coaching as well.
Yeah.
And then I need some tips. So I'm going to ask you for some tips on the golf game here.
So right out of college and when I turned pro, like I kind of gave myself 5 years to like really give it a go and like play on the LPGA tour and just give it everything that I had. And I've definitely learned so much like doing that. And I love playing professional golf. But like you said, I'm very passionate about coaching too. Like I love the game. I'm always going to be around the sport, whether that's playing or coaching. So I think in the next few years, we'll see how playing goes, but I definitely want to start getting into coaching and just passing on the knowledge that I've learned to, juniors and people that have been playing for a long time. I know I can help them with their games because I've learned so much playing professionally. And I'm just excited to see where the next few years take me with that. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. So I had another question from Instagram.
Okay.
Ben wants to know, how do you put backspin on the ball?
Ooh, backspin on the ball. Okay, so you're going to have speed, create spin, and angle of attack. So like with a wedge, you want a pretty steep angle of attack with a lot of speed. It's going to hit the green and spin back for sure. But I mean, it's crazy because obviously the PGA and LPGA girls, like they're trying to control spin with wedges, because you might have a front pin and you hit it and it looks cool to spin it back, right? But you might spin it back off the green. So when they're playing wedges, they're trying to play, more of a dead-handed shot with less spin. And, that's how we play it. But for the most amateurs, like it's really cool to spin it back, right? Yeah. So that's how you do it. Speed and angle of attack. Yeah.
Awesome. What are maybe the two big mistakes you see like most amateur players make? Like how can I shave 5 shots off my game?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things we see. I think
me in particular you're talking about? I know.
No, just every amateur golfer, but I would say like playing in pro-ams and you see a lot of shots lost on the green. Like, I mean, like just learning how far, like your distance control, basically what I'm saying is like I caddy for people and they're really like get into the line. Like, what's the line of this putt? Like, how is it breaking? I'm like, let's figure out how hard to hit it first, right? Like that's more important. Like you could get the line and be 10 feet past or 10 feet short. Like it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, it was a great line. You're still 10 feet away from the hole. Like let's try and get the speed right. And then let's think about the break, right? So, I mean, I think for any amateur, just practicing like speed control on the green. So how I do that, like the last few years, I've worked on like my length of stroke to get like a baseline. So I don't know, you could do from like your right foot to your left foot, like how long of a stroke that is and like the speed of it. Okay, how far does that make the putt go? Do you know what I mean? And then you've got some guidelines to kind of base it on. You know, what I see a lot is like a lot of amateurs take like a really short stroke on their putting going back and then like really try and hit it hard. And like you've just got no chance of being good at speed control like that, right? So you want to work on your tempo and length of stroke. I think that would help a lot. Like if you could go around without three putting, I think most amateurs would like shave like 5 shots off a round. Like honestly, I mean, that's a great way to start. And then I think another thing, like maybe lower your expectations of like how well you hit the ball. Golf is hard. So like, you know, I'll be caddying and someone's like, yeah, I hit my whatever, my 8-iron 160. I'm like, you hit that maybe once out of 100 balls, 160. Let's think about what your average is and let's play for the percentage shot. Let's not go for like the hero shot, you know? Like you might play maybe 10 times a year or something. Like you might not pull that shot off. So yeah, I think just learning how far your clubs go is a good starting point too, right? And then definitely working on your game like around, let's say like 100 yards and in. Like you could definitely shave a lot of shots off your game from that area for sure.
I think you described my entire golf game just then.
Yeah.
Where I need to practice.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I play a lot with amateurs and I love trying to help them, but you know, it's like they'll hit 2 great shots up by the green and then they'll have a 7. And I'm like, you were like 10 yards from the green. Like what just happened? So you can definitely see where people need to work on their games. So I love to help people. So yeah, I mean, they can get in contact like through social media. I'm not hugely active on it. Sometimes I like to take a break from it because, you know, just get scrolling for days on it. So it's good to have a little detox. But yeah, I have a website that you've put on there, sivitergolf.com. And then, yeah, my Instagram is just my name, Melissa Siviter. You can find me on there. DM me if you're looking for some golf lessons for sure.
Awesome. Well, Melissa, I can't thank you enough. This has been like so fun to catch up.
Thank you.
We've known each other for, 10 years now, but probably longer. But it's good to kind of actually dig into some of the backstory some more. And
well, I hope I've kind of like informed you on stuff you wanted to talk about and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I could talk for hours about professional golf or golf in general. You know, I've got a lot of good stories. So
yeah, love it. Another episode. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've
awesome.
definitely got some funny like mini tour stories for sure. But yeah, that's for another time.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you. And for those who made it this far, really appreciate it. You know, give us a like, subscribe, comment, reach out to Melissa if you need help with your golf game. And we'll see you on the next one here. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Nik. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
See you guys.